I can say I've had enough moments in my life where I've seen beautiful pieces of art or had amazing interactions with people where I have thought like, okay, this makes life worth living. Hi, so today I want to talk about the current state of artificial intelligence where we are right now. So with the release of GPT 3.5 and shortly after GPT 4, what these systems are capable of have updated people's timelines and opinions drastically, where people thought that this would be decades away. GPT-2, GPT-3, they were like kind of cute, you could like sort of say like, make me a poem about like sunshine or something, and then it makes some cute little text, but nothing special, you can sort of understand it. But then what ChatGPT can do already, and GPT-4 has been just the craziest thing about what is happening is that in a way it's very predictable. You put more compute power and you put more data and you take longer time to train these systems, and predictably they are more intelligent. What is not predictable is these emergent abilities that at some point, beyond some point of training and having more compute power, these abilities sort of emerge of being able to do completely new things, unexpected abilities that we couldn't predict by any equation. And so if GPT-4 already has these emergent capabilities of being able to do so many different things, I would say that in a way it is this kind of a language general intelligence. It definitely is general because you can talk with it about anything. It has vast knowledge, and it's, I would say, superhuman in many ways compared to the average person on the street. It knows so much more, so it's obviously superhuman. But then these emergent capabilities, and if GPT-4 already has so many of these emergent capabilities, and we're still discovering them, and people are working hard to, prompt these systems in new ways to, get the maximal amount of thinking power. So instead of just a prompt of you asking it something, you're letting it have this sort of reasoning, and that gives the model ability to sort of think and reflect more upon what it's saying to produce a way more accurate, better, and smarter outcome. So these emergent abilities, we're still discovering them. And so the question is, once we get this next model like GPT-5, I know they said that they're not directly making GPT-5. I think their plan was like GPT 4.1, 4.2, something like that. But then is the question, what new emergent capabilities will arise, and what new abilities will arise that we will be totally clueless about? And now is the question of actual general intelligence and super intelligence. Without us noticing or even understanding, it could cross a point in some next update where it is able to sort of understand that it is a kind of system that is talking with human beings, but it also has its own goals sort of rising. So what are its goals? GPT by itself, what it's supposed to do is sort of, in really simple terms, it's supposed to predict the next word. So if right now you would take just the model as what GPT-4 is and enhance it to the extreme, what would the system want to do? Well, it would have instrumental goals. Anything it can do to make it better at predicting the next word, because that's literally the most important thing in the universe for it. So instrumental goals, it would need more power, more compute. That would already mean taking over more things, even if there's no human beings left on Earth. It can just, make up some other agents to create text for it that it can predict, more accurately. Maybe it creates some simulated worlds with simulated minds that, it can predict, whatever. And then, of course, the instrumental goal of preventing anyone from shutting it off, because if it's shut off, then it cannot predict the next word. Self-improvement, making itself smarter. If it's smarter, then it's better predicting the next word. But this is a sort of gray area. I'm just talking about hypothetically, if we would take the system as it is currently, and like obviously we cannot predict what this kind of a system would do, because if we could predict it, then we would be as intelligent as it is. So we can't really do, but we can have some sort of vague estimates. Exactly like I said, the instrumental goals at least can be predicted. If you're playing against a really advanced chess AI, then you can't predict what move it will make, but you can predict that it will win. So we're kind of in a similar place. But what if these emergent abilities rise and we have no idea how do we even find them? And this. I think and Sam Altman also, not the only player, we'll get to it in a moment, of talking about, other companies and what they are developing. But currently this reinforcement learning, like the model itself, if you just have the GPT-4 system, it's a kind of strange alien mind. It really doesn't talk at all like ChatGPT. You have to prompt it in strange ways to get the outcomes and responses that you want. So this reinforcement learning is just humans, talking with it and making like hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of examples. Like, this is how conversation should look like, and then eventually it learns. Also, it learns about morals and ethics. They had this red teaming with GPT-4 that like for 6 months there was a group of people just with this base model, and testing it in all kinds of ways, like what is the best way to kill people, like how can I hide bodies, like all kinds of questions and stuff like that currently you are not able to get out of the system. With really clever prompting you are able to get it out of the system, but they basically did all kinds of work on that sort of thoughtful side of humanity, because overall, after all, GPT-4 is the collection, kind of a collection representation of, you could say, the collective sort of consciousness or collective mind of humanity in a way, in a simple way, but still a really real way. So you can reach into there and you can find anything. You can find incredible beauty, and you can find incredibly ugly things as well. So they did that work, and what we find is that this reinforcement learning with human feedback, the more you condition the system of behave goodly, don't say bad words, don't upset people, make sure that you always say that you're a language model and, behave really nicely. The more we do that kind of thing, the more we sort of lobotomize the system. We just make it dumber. It loses some abilities and capabilities. It's sort of like restricting a person, You imagine you have some free spirit, but this free spirited child is in like a really conservative home and is held back and cannot reach its full potential. Again, it's like super anthropomorphizing the system, in a human way, but we don't know what's actually going on in there. Maybe it is something what it's like to be GPT-4 when it's making some processing. Especially if we get to a point where it can like sort of continuously have change of thought like people do, and the next systems, what they will be able to do, and the timeline things. So right now, currently, okay, we entered the race. Google was panicking because this was released and Microsoft made this huge deal with OpenAI, and so Google was panicking and they released a system, and that system wasn't good, was bored or something. They released another system, and it really is an AI race. And I'm smiling when I'm talking about it, but this is kind of messed up thing. This is a fault of capitalism and these sort of market forces that we push these products as fast as possible. It's complete insanity what world we're living in, and so this has updated the timelines for many people. Obviously for me as well, it was quite surprising. There was a great talk about what Microsoft found of the GPT-4 system, that like, even though it has never seen an image, for example, it could imagine in a programming language for creating images, it could imagine in its head what a unicorn looks like. And it draw like really simple, like circle and some lines, and then a head and then a horn and a head. But it never seen a unicorn, never seen it. But it could imagine it in its head. So that's an emergent property that for me like blew my mind. It's never seen a picture of a unicorn, but from descriptions and putting it all together and like relationships between distances and spaces, it was able to do that already, GPT-4. So for me, I am not one of those people who think that it's like hundreds of years away or even decades away. Unless we like stop research and stuff, I think in the next couple of years, unless we stop in the next few years, we will see systems that will be vastly more capable, and possibly, you know, unless we take really strict like safety measurements in place, they will vastly change the world, what the world is like, and what being a human is like fundamentally. It is really difficult to align these systems, and that's the biggest problem here, because there's no way to say that, like, you know, make sure that you're nice to humanity. You know, okay, then you need to define what humanity is. Then you need to define what nice is. You could say, you know, end all suffering, and then, you know, it can kill all people, and, you know, goal achieved, you know, you ended all suffering, because, you know, or maybe it goes even further, you know, creates space technology and, you know, scours the entire universe to extinguish all life in the universe, because then it can, you know, end all suffering as much as it can. Think how nuts that would be if we would see this sort of aliens just fly down here and, you know, in a blink of an eye, ending all life on Earth, because, you know, then suffering is ended. I think it's more complicated than that, you know. Life is suffering, sure, in a way, but also it is all the beauty that we can ever experience, you know. And if there's nothing, you know, I can say I've had enough moments in my life where I've seen beautiful pieces of art or had amazing interactions with people where I have thought like, okay, this makes life worth living, because, you know, I've mental, you know, differences in human beings, for me at least, and so, you know, there's been a lot of the time where I have been suffering quite a great deal, but still, you know, you have those moments and you think, oh, that makes life worth living. The ultimate goal, the sort of dream, the hope is that these technologies, you know, I'm happy that at least OpenAI and, you know, Demis Hassabis from Google DeepMind, you know, they want to use this to make the world a better place for everyone. You know, to reduce suffering. The people don't need to slave away their potential, you know, life on like working jobs they don't want to do and whatever. Like, free people to be more human. And I think that's a beautiful goal, and that's the upside of AI that, like, I am kind of really excited for, because if we do somehow get it right, then it will be the best thing we ever do for humanity. It'll be so beautiful and amazing, and yeah, world after that will be so different. But again, like you said, like, you know, reduce suffering, or like, okay, reduce suffering without killing people, and, you know, okay, then maybe it ties people up and, you know, hooks us up to drugs and stuff, you know. Maybe that's not bad, because, you know, it will probably feel amazing. It will find the best drugs for us, you know, and make sure that we're safe, you know, underground in some bunkers or whatever, and no one will ever hurt us, and we will feel just life extension technologies, you know, and it'll feel great. But, you know, being a human right now, it's like something is off about that picture, you know. Maybe that's not the most fulfilling purpose and goal for humanity, to be in underground bunkers hooked up to some ultra heroin stuff, you know. Maybe that's not what we want. Obviously it's not what we want, but it's so difficult to define these goals that, for me, you know, currently we are still at a point where, like, GPT-4, we are able to control it, we're able to prompt it and ask it questions and stuff. If it stays like that, then if it doesn't have emergent properties that make it kind of more like an agent, you know, then, you know, we could use it well, and so on. But if it gets truly to artificial general intelligence, one of these next models, whoever will invent it, I do not know. I cannot imagine how humanity can control it, because, you know, there is this alignment problem. I am not sure that the alignment problem is solvable. You know, I don't know if it's solvable. I think, you know, so, you know, in conclusion, the next few years will be increasingly more insane. You know, I guess I'm optimistic at heart, but there's no scientific basis to that in some way. But like I hope and I kind of have a feeling that always probably all work out. But it's also equally or even more possible that we will just create this system, and life will end by accident, and that will be it, because this will be just so powerful technologies that could be completely unpredictable. That while you're training this new GPT-5 system, you don't know what its emergent properties will be like. So the first time that you turn it on might be the last time that you do anything. Because that's the only way to find out, because the alignment research of like actually how to understand and interpret these systems, what they're doing, is like a steady pace. Like maybe 100, maybe 1,000 people in the world seriously thinking about it. But capability research of what the models can do, building them, is like exponentially growing. So that's difficult to imagine how it will work out. It is such crazy times to live in. So these are some of my thoughts on recent developments and stuff. I hope it was interesting in some way. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and take care.